Hello, my name is Ed King. It's been a while since I posted my last video in regards to my vestibular schwannoma and my updates in regards to my health and how I've been recovering. It's been just shy of a year since my surgery, and a lot's changed. A lot's remained the same, but for the most part, when it comes to the tumor, what happened with it, it's still gone. I had an MRI a couple months ago, and it showed that I had a cyst in my brain, but the tumor itself was gone. So, thumbs up to the doctor. He did a great job. The neurosurgeon was able to get in there and destroy pretty much everything. I have another MRI coming up in about a month, and hopefully it continues to show that there is no growth and everything remains positive in that aspect. So there are some downsides to what I've been experiencing, and they're definitely related to the tumor itself, or actually the surgery. So first, the incision and the scar of the incision, it actually has healed quite well. I don't know how well you can see, but it's pretty much covered up by my hairline, and it's just healed remarkably well. So that's the upside. The downside is that when they made the incision, they cut a nerve. And that nerve, after everything was sewed back together, something happened, and the nerve has just been incredibly painful. And the way I've been explaining it to people is it feels like someone has taken a lot of needles, like high gauge needles, and just has taken them in a fist or in a hand and is stabbing me right at the point at the top of the incision where the plug in my head is. It's constant. It just never ever stops. So I've been taking medicine, quite a bit of medicine. As a matter of fact, I'll show you very quickly. 1 second, please. So, just have to reach over here and grab it. So the doctors put me on quite a few different medications, but at the moment I'm taking gabapentin, and I'm on the maximum dose, which is 4 pills 3 times a day. So I have to have this really large medicine container because I'm taking so many pills a day. It's something like 20 pills, and there's a combination of just about everything in there. I'm even taking vitamins and supplements to try to help it out. Things like magnesium, which is the really dark pill there, and riboflavin, B2. Anything that I can do to try to help with the pain. It's really tough. It's incredibly distracting. When it hits really hard, the pain drops me to the floor. Most times, thankfully, I'm sitting, but in those instances where I'm walking, it'll stop me in my tracks, and there's just been times where I just had to drop to the ground. Otherwise, I feel like I just would have fallen and potentially hurt myself. But, in those cases, I can kind of control it and just drop down to my knees. So there's that. And this is one of those things that it just completely unexpected. No one could ever anticipate that something like that would happen. But, it did. So just something to be aware of. Another thing that I've been dealing with is a vestibular disorder. So I think I've mentioned in one of the previous videos that I was the vestibular nerve on this side was destroyed by the tumor. Basically, it was flattened, as thick as a piece of paper. And so they had to take it out. That, in addition to the auditory nerve, was destroyed. So what I was told at the time was that after a couple weeks, the right side of my brain, the vestibular nerve over there, would just take over, and the dizziness that I was dealing with would eventually go away. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. Like I said, it's been just shy of a year. Another month and a half, it'll be a year. And that's been one of the most difficult things that I've had to deal with outside of the pain. Because any head movement that I make, and it doesn't matter what, just up, down, left, right, side to side like that, I'm immediately dizzy and disoriented, unsteady on my feet. I'm still walking with a cane. And while I feel on most surfaces I could walk technically without it, what ends up happening is because my body is concentrating so hard on trying not to be dizzy, and I'm having to really be intensely focused on what I'm doing, I get tired very, very quickly. I just fatigue and stay fatigued for long periods of time after the fact. So, for example, if I go for a walk, I start out fine, but by the time I'm at the end of the walk, I actually need the cane, because what ends up happening is I start swerving, and if I don't have the cane, then I could, fall into something, and the cane catches me and allows me to, stay upright, basically. Usually when I go out walking, I'm with my wife, and when I really start getting to a point where I'm feeling tired or exhausted, I'll lock arms with her, and she'll help me and stabilize me for that purpose. I'm very thankful for my wife. She's really made this experience tolerable in a lot of different ways. So yeah, that's the pain and dizziness. The vestibular disorder itself, and I think I've mentioned this before, causes cognitive issues. I can't remember anything. My short-term memory is just kind of crap, and it's kind of hit or miss on what I can and can't remember. Some things I remember fine, other things, just last night even, I was talking with my wife, and she told me that I asked her 3 different times what we were having for dinner. So the pain just hit, and it's right around here, and it's really uncomfortable when it hits. Anyway, I was talking with my wife last night, and she was telling me that I had asked 3 times. I remembered the third time, or the fact that she told me that I asked the third time. The first and second time that I asked, have no idea that I did that. And she says I do that regularly, and I don't mean to. It's just, I'll think that I haven't done something, and I'll do it again. One of the other things that ends up bugging me is that if I set something down in a place that is not normal, say I've set my keys on my desk, I have a very difficult time remembering that I set the keys on the desk. So what I've had to do is start putting the things that I use on a regular basis in very specific places. My cane is always on the counter right next to the door before I go out. My wallet is on a table right next to the television stand, as are my sunglasses and keys and anything else that's important for me, to have going outside of the house. There's times where, we'll be going places, and and I'll be having a conversation with my wife, and she'll tell me, well, you're just repeating yourself. That's kind of embarrassing and frustrating, and I don't know if I've done that to anyone else, and if I have, I apologize. It's not intentional. I just can't remember. And after reading up on it, just the vestibular system, if your body is working so hard and keeping yourself steady and upright, um, your something has to give basically, and your body decides that you know your cognitive abilities aren't nearly as important as your ability to stay focused and concentrate and keeping yourself upright and not falling down. And so as a result, my memory tends to suffer. um, but outside of that, my brain's working well. I still remember things well prior to the surgery. And I do remember certain things after the surgery. um, but it's kind of hit or miss after the fact. I don't remember a whole heck of a lot of the past year, to be honest with you. There's certain elements I remember, but there's other things that I just don't recall at all. Anything that I've recorded, and I've been able to see more than once, I definitely have a memory of. But anything that, unless I specifically was telling myself, you got to remember this, I just really don't remember. So there's that. Neurologically, um, things that are still wrong. Well, I still have facial weakness on this side. It's not so bad. I pretty much can taste things now. I still have a few dead spots on my tongue, but it's nothing bad. Um, when I yawn, this eye closes and this other eye stays open. No control over that. It that's what it does. I can feel like tingling sensations over here. It really happens when I get tired. Same is true for the corner of my mouth. So when that starts happening, I know it's time to either take a nap or to go to bed if it's late. Um, let's see. Oh, and the tips of my fingers and toes get numb. That's always fun. And the one thing I think that annoys me the most is that I twitch a lot. And it happens more when I try to relax. And what I'll notice is my arm will jump, or my legs will jump, or my back, will kind of jump, or my head will twitch, and it's just involuntary. I have no control over it whatsoever. And sometimes, like right now, it's fine. I've had a couple twitches in my legs and in my back, but it's tolerable. But there's times when I'm trying to concentrate or watch a movie or go to bed or I'm already asleep and the muscles just go haywire. And I just have arms and legs and everything's just twitching and my neck's twitching. And, it'll wake you up in the middle of the night. So it's a combination of twitching and nerve damage will keep me awake, most nights. I wake up in the morning and I'm just exhausted. My wife tries to wake me up and I just have a very difficult time just waking up anymore. See, this is the problem with having bad memory. I can't remember the point I was just trying to make. Anyhow, so I think I was on nerves. So the fingers get numb and the twitching. Yeah, I was talking about the twitching. So anyway, there's that. My hearing was tested on this ear, completely deaf. I have a unilateral hearing loss, so that means I can hear out of this ear, not a problem. This ear is deaf, which is really nice because when my wife tends to snore at night, I just lay on my good ear, have this ear up, I hear nothing. I have one of those memory foam pillows so my head really sinks into it, and Yeah, I can get more restful sleep that way. Kind of nice that way. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else that has been impactful as a result, or things that I just haven't recovered from. Um, Thankfully, I got off, all of the narcotics pretty quickly. I don't like drugs of that nature. I do wish that I could stop taking all of these. Um, I don't like taking pills at all, but I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. Um, there's all different kinds of stuff in here. Gabapentin, B2, magnesium, Effexor for anxiety. Oh, I've been battling anxiety and depression as part of this. But I think given what I've gone through in the past year, that's kind of a given. It's really a loss. You have to get over the fact that you're not who you used to be. I'm lucky. I know I'm lucky. I've seen videos here on YouTube where people have significant nerve damage, and their face just droops, and this side of their face just isn't useful really for them anymore. And you can look at me, and unless I'm incredibly tired, you don't see it. I'm so thankful for that. That's the one thing out of everything besides dying that I was really concerned about, because people can see that, you know. But then that kind of leads into the other problem that I have is that, people can't see that I'm deaf. People can't see that I'm dizzy. Um, they can somewhat see the facial weakness when I'm tired, but that's pretty rare that they can actually see that. Um, but people will treat you the same. The only way that people know that I'm or something's wrong is that I have to carry my cane, and that's it. Um, People do tend to treat me a little differently because of the cane, but that's fine. Things that I find difficult to do is, well, let me backtrack a little bit. I've been on disability since 2 weeks before the surgery. So as of September 2nd of 2014, I started disability, and I'm still on disability now. I am on disability because my ability to do things has been incredibly limited. Physical therapy has helped in that aspect. Physical, my physical therapist has been phenomenal. She's kind of in uncharted waters. The things that have been wrong with me, they just really don't know what to do with me, is what I've been told. And, you know, she's given it a good try. She's doing lots of research and having me do things, and putting me in uncomfortable situations. I've fallen. During one physical therapy session, I fell down and luckily tuck and rolled, and didn't do any damage to myself. She said it was the first time that someone has fallen on her in 10 years. She just got a little too excited, as part of the physical therapy that we were doing. But I'm doing physical therapy every day. Every day, I get new exercises and new things to try every time I visit the physical therapist, and I incorporate that into my routine, and every day I will do something different. Maybe that's what I should do a video, is showing me doing physical therapy. That would be fun. That's really entertaining. But even though I'm doing all this physical therapy and it's helping, I can do things significantly better today than what I could do when even 3 months ago. And part of it is just, the repetition. I get out and I walk every day. that helps. It allows me to teach my body what it needs to do in order to be able to walk. Yeah, I walk with a cane and I'm really slow, but I'm faster today than what I was 6 months ago. And that's a big change. People have noticed that. They've made specific comments about how fast that I've gotten when I'm moving around. Um, I've gotten more used to the dizziness as I move my head around. And it used to be if I just made small movements, it was just awful, just awful. But now, while the dizziness and just the disorientation is the same, I don't, I can deal with it better. You just get used to it. It's, I hate the saying, but it's the new normal. Um, if you're not careful and you forget, you can injure yourself, and you have to be mindful of that. But when it comes down to it, yeah, you tend to remember. But sometimes, for a split second, you might forget. I fell down the other day because I completely forgot I was sick. I was laughing with my wife and stood up and leaned forward, and I fell outside of that balance zone that I'm able to have now, and I had leaned forward too far. And when I realized that I leaned forward too far, it just kind of hit me. Oh crap, I'm falling. And then boom, I fell. Didn't injure myself, but my wife was very unhappy with me and let me know it immediately. Um, I just laid on the floor for a while. It's difficult to ride in a car. I still can't drive. There's no way. It would be akin to giving the keys to a drunk person. While my mind is clear, the problem is that when you drive a car and you're just riding, you hit bumps. Well, that bump makes your head move. Or, what if you had a swerve? Well, I can't collect myself fast enough so that I can reorient myself and say, this is where I'm at. It takes me, a good 5 to 10 seconds when I do this to figure out where I'm at again. And so, I'm clear now, but, just when I was doing that, it's kind of difficult. So, people don't realize that while they're in the car, your head's bopping and moving around. And you hit bumps and your head moves and goes side to side and up and down and left and right. And you have to be moving left to right and up and down and left and right, just so that you can drive. And I can't do that. Even being a passenger in the car is just incredibly difficult. There's bumps everywhere, and you don't even realize it, especially going down to LA. The 5 or the 405, just north of LA, and as you get into LA proper, the roads are terrible. It's just bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump. And by the time you get down into Orange County, where the roads are much smoother, you're just half ill. I am going for long distance drives. I can at least do it now. I've done it twice. The first time was much more difficult than the second time. But by the time you get done with it, you're spent. You need to go and sleep it off. Just because you spent the entire time dizzy and your body is just spent. The way I was describing it to someone recently was, imagine being a bodybuilder. And, as a bodybuilder, you're using very specific muscles. But after a period of time, even a bodybuilder takes a break. Even though I'm not lifting weights, my muscles all the time are just tense and tight because my body is always just prepared for what might happen. Sure, there's an occasion where everything will get loose and, like I'm laying on the couch or, going to bed. That's where the muscle twitching starts coming in. But my body is just always tense and is just waiting for something to happen. And it's just part of that intense focus that just makes me so tired all the time. Is there anything else? You know, one of the things that I've definitely learned, because I've been on disability for so long now, just shy of a year, is that unless you have a good system of support, this is one of the most difficult things that you can possibly do, is have a surgery, be out of work, be on disability, and not have anything to back you up. I'm lucky. I have a wife and I have friends about 8 hours away, and if needed, I have family that'll fly out to California to help me out. But for the most part, my wife has a day job and I have to fend for myself during the day. And at night, she's trying to unwind. So I try to give her space, and on the weekends we'll try to do stuff together. But you learn, or at least you should learn, how to deal with loneliness. Because being sick is incredibly lonely for many reasons. People don't understand necessarily what your sickness is, or, in my case, it's not visible. They forget, even my wife forgets, and she's with me all the time. And, I had to show someone recently that, what it's like to be in my head. And, for people that are watching this and want to try to understand, go somewhere safe, outside in your yard, put your arms out and spin around in a circle 20 times as fast as you can. And then try to pick something up off the ground and try to do that without falling down. And you'll get a general idea of what I'm dealing with anytime I move my head. I've gotten very, very good at, when I'm walking around, I tend to move my body. I don't really move my head so much. I'll move my head, slowly, because, there's times where you just have to look around. But for the most part, I just move my upper chest, move it around like this. I really don't move my head so much. Well, that's it for this update. It's actually probably the longest one that I've done. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Leave a comment here on the channel below. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. And I'm sure if something else comes up, I'll be sure to document it in some way, shape, or form. So I appreciate you taking the time. It's been 28 minutes, and hopefully you'll find that it's 28 minutes well spent. Take care, and see you soon.